Welcome to Soni Irabor Live. Well, today we're discussing issues that affect Nigeria as a country. One is the runaway inflation, then of course the combative relationship between the Naira and the dollar, and how the ordinary man is faring on the street. And we went to Abuja to get somebody who is a social economist and then to be able to address issues as she understands them. The second edition today will be to discuss power, electricity that is, and none other than the former Minister of Power, Professor Barth Nnaji. And we're going to discuss power based on his lecture that he gave a few days ago on the 64th birthday of Mr. Dele Omodu. Well, first, let me welcome Nana Sani Kauzare on the economy, interest rate, and the Naira value. You're welcome, Nana. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Very technical questions, the way you have put it. I hope I can do justice.
Good.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Uncle Sonny.
Thank you. Now, we have looked at the way the Naira has played its role against the dollar. We've seen the role the central bank has also played in trying to ensure that the Naira is stabilized at an exchange rate. But it went down to almost 900 and then went all the way back to 1,500, Naira to the $1. Let's look at it from that point of view.
Yes.
Do you think the central bank is doing enough to stem or control, or balance the equation, as it were?
That's, no, I don't think that they even know what they're doing, unfortunately. I strongly feel that the APC government, the APC-led government, in my opinion, they didn't have a cohesive economic plan, when they decided to, remove subsidy the way it was removed, and it would seem as if there's this alchemy between the central bank, the APC government, and making progressively bad decisions to the detriment of the average Nigerian person. There's a high level of despondency everywhere. We don't even have a middle class anymore. It has been systematically and successfully snuffed out, if you ask my own opinion. It's unfortunate because Nigerians had a lot of hope going to the polls in 2023. And ever since this government has come in approximately a year, there has been this steady decline. Nigerians are poorer than we were a year ago because of the way the Naira has declined. I haven't seen the economy deliberately work on making sure that we can actually grow our Naira. You hear them, they have all the English to speak. They speak the right words, but at the end of the day, the implementation of their fiscal policies have been very unfriendly to the average Nigerian, and it has really affected everybody's psyche. At this point, I would say that Nigerians have an abusive relationship with their government because we don't have any, we don't have any other place to run. There's people like us that want to stay in our country and live in our country. Was it Tommy Kimi that once said he would rather eat mushrooms as a free man than eat meat, but then be a slave? So there are those of us who have that philosophy, who want to remain in our country and see it grow. But like I said, the government has made successive bad decisions that have impacted negatively on Nigerians. So as an alchemist myself, I ventured as a businesswoman. I ventured into manufacturing, and so people who know me and know my business know that my business I was making skin and hair care products. So I do understand alchemy, and so I use my words very, very deliberately, because when you set up to make a lotion, for example, what you see is that you emulsify water and oil. And when I say that they have, the emulsification of bad decisions, you can't even tell when the emulsification process goes, happens, you cannot tell the difference between the oil and the water because it now becomes one substance. And that's exactly what has happened with this government and bad decisions, unfortunately.
That's very philosophical, but what then do you advise can be done?
We need all the philosophers. We need those people that can stand in front of the battleground and stand with the common Nigerian and let them know that we feel your pain. We know your limitations. Let me give you an example. 2-3 days ago, in Kubwa, in Abuja, a young boy went to try to steal a pot of soup. He was hungry, and he was beaten to death. People are hungry on the streets. It's not, families that could have 3 square meals now are doing 101. Some of them are doing, it's now become fashionable for people to go into what we call intermittent fasting, just so that you just have 1 meal a day. How much, and I've not seen this government, deliberately say, hospitals, we're building hospitals, healthcare centers, there will be an improvement. There hasn't even been an improvement in the power sector. And unfortunately, we just have this very uncouth, unkind, and unfeeling minister of power. The things that he has come out to say are beyond incredulous. I don't even know where there was a time this man really looked at Nigerians in the eye and he said, though he did apologize, but he has, it's a different thing to say something and it's a different thing to actually be seen to be doing that thing. He said Nigerians turn on their refrigerators and freezers for long periods of time. From my own perspective, a refrigerator is there to preserve food, to make sure that you don't lose your condiments that you have bought. Why will you turn it off? Are refrigerators supposed to be cupboards where we keep clothes, or are refrigerators like bookshelves? Okay. No, it has to run on power. And recently, I heard this man say that people who are on Band A are people and are complaining about Band A are people who have never paid NEPA bills in their life, and that's not true. I'm on Band A, unfortunately. Everybody in my estate is on Band B. There are about 3 of us who are on Band A. And we're spending like 20,000 Naira gives you just 81 units. That lasts like 3 days without using air conditioning. And then we are talking 48,000 Naira as the minimum wage. Okay. That's about $34.
Let's put this in.
What do you expect the average?
Right. Let's put this in perspective, because I can see you moved from 3 tiers of. The first question really had to do with the Naira-dollar relationship. Now you have moved to power. You also mentioned in passing the middle class almost extinct. And let's look at the inflationary rate and then interest. Okay, the inflationary rate as at yesterday, Friday, sounded like almost 40%. Okay, the interest rate, that's the lending rate, if you even can get any bank to loan you any money, is about 22% or thereabout. Can you weigh these two options and see how this can help? Is this an attempt to help the government, the people, or is it just to help the Nigerian economy? What is it?
If the government wanted to help, then our interest rate should be single digits, not double digits. That's just simple economics. We're talking double digits of about, if I'm not mistaken, about 25%. I think it's just been a systematic way to make sure that you have no access to investment from your government. And it's just another way of ensuring that you cannot access loans. I told you I was into manufacturing. It's something that I learned along. I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed producing. But you cannot even afford to anymore, the cost of raw materials, because we are an import dependent economy. And so the rise, when you put such high costs on fuel, and the cost of importation has gone so high that people cannot even afford to import anymore. And it's not as if we are a producing economy. So I've not seen where it is that the government wants. They talk about ease of doing business, but those of us who are really in the field trying to eke out a living, running businesses, we are almost unable to make ends meet. Overhead costs run too high. Where do you want us to start, Soni?
Actually,
or where do you want us to finish?
It scares one when it's a bit worrisome.
It's been a roller coaster of, and they claim they're trying to sort out, and everything ties into the other, Like I said, the alchemy of bad decisions, it works hand in glove with everything that affects the life of Nigerians. There's a skit that I saw on social media, and as much as they would like to downplay social media, it's here to stay. And it has become a very powerful tool to pass information. So a very young, lady goes on the streets, and she's clearly out of the country. And she's asking Nigerians, if you were given £100,000 to return home, would you? And she interviewed about 5 people, and they all turned it down. And guess what the reasons were? It was, everybody gave the same answer in different locations. They said the government, leadership. That's what the people kept saying. They would rather remain eating meat as slaves than come home and eat mushrooms as free people, because the government and the structures or the lack of structures thereof, that have been put for Nigerians to have to live with, are just inconceivable. And it has nothing to do with the DNA of the average Nigerian, because in our DNA, we are survivors. In our DNA, we are top-notch, because when we go outside the country, we thrive. We do better than everybody else. So then there's something wrong. There's something fundamentally wrong.
Okay.
With the way our government has been treating us.
The way you have spoken.
Successive governments. I will not put it just on the shoulders of this present government, but then they are part and parcel of everything that we have complained about. I read in an article recently, I forget who wrote it now, but he's an elderly man, and he mentioned that very soon China is poised to start to make sure that Nigerians begin importing gari.
You mentioned it, but it's already happening. It's already happening, unfortunately.
It's, and
China started importing gari into Nigeria.
I have not seen where the government has, fully supported farmers, the agricultural industry. They talk about it, we hear about it, but we do not see the impact. What we see are people running away from their farmlands, ancestral homes, because of insecurity. What we see is that people have to, pay certain types of taxes to their oppressors. That's what we see. But we hear that they are doing the utmost. We keep hearing how they are, banditries it's no longer on the rise. But the truth of the matter is the cost of living of the average Nigerian is too high. It's absolutely too high. Let me break it down to you. Come to Abuja, certain places in Abuja, one atarugu, that is one tiny jalapeno pepper, now the price goes for 100 Naira. When initially we could buy over 20 peppers at 150 or 200, with 300% increment, in fuel, 300% increment in electricity. It has, snowballed into over 300% transportation. So people who could get to work at 500 Naira before, to and from work, are now spending almost 3,000 Naira, the same distance. So where is it that the government has brought any cushioning effect or any succor to the average Nigerian? I'm still curious to see it.
Let me step in there somewhere. How can
Thank
the
you.
followers, find solace in what to do to survive, as it were? If government is trying and it's not coming out as they expected it to be, what do you advise the follower to do then? How can they sustain themselves under the circumstance?
Well, this is something that's a raw nerve, and I try as much as possible to avoid it. And I did say that Nigerians have a very abusive relationship with their government, unfortunately. And
when you say abusive,
really
what do you mean by abusive?
It has become normal. Nigerians, it has become normal for us to see fuel queues. That's abuse. It has become normal, for students to sit in classrooms that don't have roofs in the rainy season. That's abuse. It has become normal for primary healthcare centers not to have paracetamol. That's abuse. It has become normal for healthcare centers to not have even solar-powered lights for women to be able to give birth. That's abuse. It has become normal for Nigerians not to be able to have access to roads, but we think it's okay to spend trillions of Naira on a Lagos-Calabar coastal road. It's all fine and dandy. The plan it's not a bad one. We cannot say that there's anything particularly wrong with it. But when the roads, access to roads within existing roads are death traps, that's abuse. That money should be used to maintain moribund roads. Let's focus on maintenance. Let's focus on improvement. When your government doesn't seek to improve your life, that's abuse. When we have out-of-school children who ordinarily are so brilliant, we know that education is one way to make sure that your populace can thrive and improve and do business. And we don't care about the educational system. That's abuse. When Nigerians have been put backed up so much into a corner where we suffer from post-traumatic stress disease, where we just think, oh, let's leave it to God. Eventually, we secede our power. We secede our thinking to a higher power because there's hopelessness all around us. That's abuse from the government. When you feel that the government isn't listening, when you feel that the government doesn't come to you. I was listening to a sister channel earlier this morning, and the man spoke very eloquently and extremely well. Where I thoroughly agreed with him was when he said the government has to start to have town halls with the Nigerian people. They have to come to where we are. They don't want the Nigerian people to come to them. I don't think it would be nice. It will not be pleasant at all. So it is time for the government to get off their high horses. They should reduce that cost of governance. Recently there's the Hajj, 90 billion in subsidy for Hajj. What could that money do in the health sector? 90 billion Naira. What could it do in the educational sector?
From
Nigeria,
what you said
I don't think we have moved up from being the poverty capital of the world. I haven't seen that we have moved up.
You still see Nigeria.
No more. We're still there. So what is this government doing right? I would like, we have an adage in Hausa that says, if Friday will be a good day, you start to sense it from Wednesday. You start to sense it from the beginning of the week. So my point is, if the next 3 years of this APC-led government was going to be better, I would expect that we would begin to have some breathing space. I would believe that by now we would begin to see, oh, this is why this is being done. But it would just seem as if they come, like recently, I even put it up, I said, if this is a reason for people to jackpot, because it came out in the news that they were about to take out about 20 trillion from people's pension. So your pension is not even safe with your government. That's abuse. So I'm happy that Mr. Dele Alake came out to refute it, but it was really scary and quite disheartening at the time.
Right.
So, yes.
Well, I've listened to you, and actually you've given some nuggets that really gives some serious thought. Have provoked my thought, so to speak. Before we round off, let's look at the processes of creating an enabling relationship between governance and those that are governed, the leaders and the followers.
Where is Nigeria's?
Did you hear that?
Where is Nigeria's NOA? Where is our
National Orientation Agency? Is that what you mean? NOA.
Yeah, where is NOA? Yes, where is it?
That's the National Orientation Agency.
Like, I don't see what they're doing. I don't see how they're trying as much as doing their best.
Okay, what do you advise the NOA to do?
Pardon me?
What do you advise the NOA to do?
Organize town halls. Begin to see where the similarities, because as of this time, the poverty index in Nigeria has no tribe or creed. So the NOA, they definitely must have they must have their marching orders. There's a reason why they exist. So can they please put it into action? Growing up, we used to have really nice advertisements. I don't know if you guys remember me. I like my country.
Yes,
I like the land and people. Everything is there for Nigeria. I remember this one because I used to love to rap, because that was when rap was, coming up in Nigeria, where he said, are you a distributor, a trader, or a consumer? Do not buy anything if the prices are inflated. There are alternatives to produce, buy, and sell. Nigeria needs investors and not exploiters. Hello. Can we begin to have all those messages that bring hope to Nigerians? Can the NOA start to explain to Nigerians why certain decisions are being taken, why they must be taken, and why, at the end of the day, it's not to our detriment, but it is to the betterment of the collective called Nigeria of 200 plus million people. NOA can even go into the position where they let Nigerians know, let's keep at it, let's start to produce. We might just have to go back to the drawing board. But if you're so far removed from your people, which I believe is the case,
I feel
instead we have issues of godfatherism, plaguing governance. We have people who have sat in places of authority, and because you had executive power, now you're being called to answer, and you abscond, and nothing is being done about it.
I want to thank you so much, because you've given us enough to really, think about and indeed see how one needs to survive. Both the leaders, the led or the followers, all of us, we have a role to play in making sure that Nigeria, as a country that all of us belong to, survives. Nana Sani Kauzare, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, officer.
Yeah. And so we've had a social economist, Nana Sani Kauzare, who has been speaking her mind and maybe Nigeria's mind on the way things are going with the economy, with the inflation, with the interest rate, and indeed the Naira and value to the dollar. Well, our next special guest is a former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, former Minister of Power, Mr. Barth Nnaji, who will be talking to us about power. We know what electricity is. Yeah, my first guest talked about power in an interesting way. Let's hear what he has to say. We'll be right back. Welcome again to Soni Irabor Live. The second guest in this particular special edition is the former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's Professor Barth Nnaji, and he was Minister of Power at the time, and he's done a few things, quite a lot since that time. Again, one of the things we remember him for is the fact that he has a solution to energy in Nigeria. But do we believe him? Do we take him seriously? Now, when listening to him at Dele Momodu's 64th birthday inaugural lecture, I was very intrigued, very impressed, and I said I needed to speak with this gentleman. And so I'm glad to have him with us on Zoom. And first, you are welcome, sir. Where are you exactly now? Professor Barth. Abba, okay. So congratulations, because Abba is 24/7, yes. We're told about energy and all that, and power supply. Is that true? 24/7? Round the clock?
Well, once we have gas, we offer power 24/7. That's absolutely correct.
Okay, good. So it's once we have gas. I will make sure that we have gas. We have to do enough program to make sure the government is aware that we need gas.
That's a major Achilles heel in the country for all the power plants.
Right. Let me take you back a little bit. You were Minister of Power in the Jonathan government, I think. And
yes,
I just wondered how you felt that we were operating within 4,000 megawatts of power for, at that time, 180 or 190 million people in Nigeria. How did it sound like to you?
Well, you have to even ask what the plan was when I got there. It was just slightly over 2,000 megawatts. 2,000. So we were able to increase it to that figure that you're quoting, actually getting closer to 5,000 megawatts. The issue and what we had to do was to aggressively try to recover a number of the units in the various power stations in Nigeria. That's how we were able to increase power. That's where it has largely stayed.
Well, it's been almost 10 years down the line.
So the question you're asking me is how
you felt.
Well, I can tell you that it's not a good feeling to know what Nigeria needs and not be able to be there. But plan is one thing. We made a plan to see that we year on year add a certain quantum of power to the national power pool. Although that has not been followed through this point. So, but what the more important thing is that there was a plan, and the plan was aggressively being pursued at the time. So Nigeria actually needs at least 100,000 megawatts. That's really the bottom line.
Aha! Now you've nailed it. 100,000 megawatts. That's what you said, right? And for a country that is this large, both in size and population, it's not difficult to achieve, isn't it? Why is this so difficult to achieve?
It is. Well, it costs lots because you see 1 megawatt of thermal power, particularly gas-fired plant, would cost anywhere from $1.3 to $1.5 million to build, and therefore to build 100,000 megawatts is multiplied by that figure, say $1.5 million. So that's the problem. Where's the money?
But that's not an expensive venture, is it?
It cannot come from government. It cannot come from government, but what we set out was the instruments that will allow private sector to invest and be able to recover their money. And also for the government not to be out there with their balance sheets being the instrument for investment. So it was a balancing act. So myself and then Minister of Finance worked on it to ensure that we were able to set out an instrument that whereby say the World Bank and in fact African Development Bank wanted to participate, European Investment Bank wanted to participate. So all of us worked on this project. They'll have what we call partial risk guarantee. And one power plant was built based on that formula, and this is the Azura Edo in Edo State. So that power plant was built based on that. But no other power plant that got developed came to fruition because the program didn't continue from 2015 onwards.
That power plant that was in Edo State, you said, how much did it give?
Yes.
How many megawatts?
It gives approximately 460 megawatts, approximately.
So if you were to have that around the country, how many of that will you need for the size of Nigeria?
Well, like I said, we need about
100,000 yes.
megawatts. But at least, you know, you have to crawl before you run. So just building, say, each year, if we were to be adding it just like 5,000 megawatts to the grid, that's substantial. And mark you, when we're talking about 100,000 megawatts, it means that even just 5,000 per year will take you 10 years to get 50,000 megawatts. And that's more than, that's less, still less than where South Africa is.
Exactly. Okay. I was going to give the South African example, even though they are having their own problem now. But the former president of Ghana, at the same lecture you gave the inaugural speech, said even Ghana, small as it is, was operating about 5,000 or more megawatts. Well, if Ghana is about 28... It's
amazing, isn't it?
Sorry? You said what?
I said it's amazing, isn't it?
Yes. So if Ghana can get that much in their population of maybe 28 or 30 million people, and Nigeria is 200 million plus people, and we cannot even do the same 5,000 megawatts, how do you feel, Mr. Minister, sir? How do you honestly feel that you were actually at the helm of affairs, you could not do much at that time? And seeing the way things are now.
Can you say that, Soni? Soni,
Yes.
How can you say I didn't do much? I told you I was in office for just 14 months.
Yes, I know
and
you
I
resigned.
came in at 2,000 megawatts, and I was able to raise it to closer to 5,000 megawatts. How can you say I didn't do anything?
No, I apologize. I apologize for that. That's a good observation you just made. Because, you know, sometimes I worry about Nigeria when I see that. Since that time, it's been around that same 5,000. You were in power, or you were minister many years ago, almost 10 years, and nothing has changed. How do you feel?
Well, I feel bad that the program we set out to build new plants, the program isn't being followed, which is what I am talking about, which is the program that led to the building of the Azura power plant in Edo, that the other power plants, many of them matured, developed, people spent a lot of money to develop the project. You know, to develop a project, you can spend maybe 2 years, 3 years to develop it, and you wouldn't have broken ground. You're simply putting together the structure, the documentation, the studies, just to develop the project. And you would have spent millions and millions of dollars. most of the people who were developing this project would have spent anywhere from $10 to $30 million just developing the project, and nothing came of it till today. What was expected is that that these projects would help to boost Nigeria's power very much significantly, because what happens now is that you have self-generation leading the pack. So much of the power in Nigeria is self-generation, very costly, and it is the primary reason why production is not really working in Nigeria. Because if you can't have cost industrial power to power various industries, then it's difficult to compete in the world market.
Do you think there are people, power players, stakeholders, who believe that they're making more gains from, say, generators and other, power supplies, as against providing power for the whole country, for the people to use and all of that? So they therefore will naturally want to truncate the genuine efforts of the likes of you. Would you say that?
You just want to say I said, but I think you are not off the mark.
Okay, that's an interesting mark,
because I mean, even anybody who has occupied that chair will tell you that there's a lot of that going on, where with a lot of sabotage going on in the system. Even, I mean, there are so many areas. It could be diesel suppliers, it could be generator suppliers, it could even be contractors who are gaining from that things are the way they are.
Therefore, what do you advise we should do? Can we take the bull by the horn? Can we dare the devil? What is it? Because Nigeria needs to get out of this quagmire to move forward. Nigerians are very naturally talented. Outside Nigeria, they are the best everywhere. How does one feel if this kind of thing is happening and we cannot even, get this thing right for our own power supply? What do you think, sir? How can this be solved? Okay, I know you are going to mention Abia State. We'll get to that. But how do you think we can solve this problem?
We need to be able to have follow through with the plan and not stop because there is a change in government, because that's what happened. The program set out by the Jonathan government just didn't continue when government changed. This is something that shouldn't be the case. But I believe that the current government is trying to revive some of those initiatives, and that is encouraging.
That's good to know. Let's go to Abia State now. You seem to have had a good chance to exhibit what you know best how to do. Can you tell us your experience, share your experience with us?
Well, first, we did a project in Abuja around 2000. Okay, so it was commissioned in 2001. It was a 22 megawatt power plant that guaranteed 15 megawatts to NEPA. And as long as the fuel is there, the power plant was on, and the fuel was there. So we were able to deliver this power to the central area of Abuja. It was locally domiciled, which means it didn't go on national grid. It supplied power to the central area, including the villa. And it was reliable 24/7 for as long as this fuel was on. So we found it to be a model that can be replicated in various parts of the country. And so when the Minister of Finance then, Dr. Ngozi went to Aba with the then president of the World Bank, James Wolferson, they invited me along. And when we got there, they went to Ariaria Market. It's a very famous market. It's really a place where they produce, they manufacture leather products, garments, and so on. So they asked them, what is it that if they have, they would be able to improve their production? And they said electricity. So they now said to me, basically over to Geometric Power, that we should work on developing a project that will ensure that kind of reliable power as we had in Abuja. So what we did then was we went ahead to construct a model that was different from the standard model. In building in Nigeria today, the way it works is that the power plant which is the GENCO, supplies power to the bulk trader. Okay, and the bulk trader now basically gives the power to various distribution companies, and the transmission companies is there in the middle. But we said, let's not have, and of course the GENCO, the government must guarantee the GENCO, which means give sovereign guarantee, which costs a lot of money on the part of government. Which is why when we came into government, we said, look, let's use a different kind of guarantee, which is partial risk guarantee, not the whole risk guarantee, because this is less. But in the case of a project that we conceived in ABA, we said, don't give us any guarantee of any kind. Give us the territory. Give us the territory. Let's now take our fate in our own hands. There is a proverb in our area which says, well, the dog said, just throw the bone to me and let me worry about the fight with the spirits. So, you know, if you see that if you throw a bone to a dog, it is seems like it's fighting with something, but it's actually, it is said it is the spirit that it's fighting with. So we said, okay, give us that territory. Let us be responsible for the system of billing and collection, and don't give us any guarantee, so that we are dealing with the last mile. We build an embedded power plant, and that embedded power plant supplies power to a local grid. The power doesn't go to national grid, except for excess power. Okay. So that was the model that we went to the president, President Obasanjo, and the president understood what we were talking about and approved. And that's how we started the ABBA project, on the basis that it is going to be a ring-fenced area project. We embed the power, build a power plant that's sufficient to for the entire area in a projected manner over years. And in fact, that year on year, we have to ensure that there's reliable power there. So as long as the fuel is there, that power is able to satisfy the area and provide reliable electricity. But we also recognized that network that we are going to inherit would not be, basically it's a carve out of what you now know as Enugu Disco. So you carve out that area and we take it over and it becomes its own disco. We recognize that the infrastructure is totally dilapidated. You need to invest heavily in it. And we have done a lot of investment there. Just to magnitude-wise, it's like if you have, if you buy the territory with $1, you invest more than $8 to improve it. And actually, during privatization, that was the intention, that new disco owners will invest to improve the infrastructure. So, like what you see in my background behind me is infrastructure we built just to evacuate power from the power plant to the city. So you will find these steel tubular poles all over the city. We built them. And we feel that we need to improve so that if there is strong wind, that your towers won't be falling over, as you find in a lot of places. But we also went and built new substations to ensure that you don't have overloading of transformers everywhere, which makes the system fail. And we also built a new gas pipeline, a 27-kilometer gas pipeline from the gas source to the power plant. So, and then, of course, built the power plant itself. If 141 megawatt power plant, we plan to add another 47 megawatts to bring it to 188 megawatts as power demand increases in Adam. So that's the project, and it was built therefore for reliability. There's no speculation about whether it would work from the model. That once you look at it, it's a demand and supply structure that is very clear about how it's supposed to work. So that's about it.
From all indication, what you're saying now, I heard you talk about if there's enough, is it gas? Well, something that will power the engine. Gas, right. And that means, how readily available is gas, by the way?
Well, it's on and off because maybe I would say it's not just us, it is all over the nation. The gas supply is not reliable yet. So what everybody's scrambling for is that reliability. And we would like to ensure that the truth of reliability is there as a model. And I would say that the government and the Nigerian National Petroleum, they're working hard to ensure that this reliable gas supply is achieved.
Well, let me just, before we round off, sir, let me just sound what I have observed in all of these. A country of 200 million people plus, 200 plus million people, a country that is this large, a country that has people like you who are gifted and who know their job very well. It's the same country that is so denied of the things that will make it work and run, normally. What is your advice to leadership in your area of expertise?
First, I think that the issue of gas has to be resolved because Nigeria has abundance of gas. I mean, for the next 50 years, if we invest in gas, we would be flush with gas, and the country wouldn't have any issue in terms of powering its systems and still have enough for export. But it's about focusing on it. What I said at the lecture a couple of days ago is that really an emergency needs to be declared in that particular area to help to get the stranglehold that issue has on the power sector. And I was happy to see that the president commissioned 2 power projects in the country the day before that, which one in Kwale and one in Ohaji. These are so important. We need to have more of that. The infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure also needs to be improved so that you don't continuously have a leak that suspend power generation and even production of oil once a leak occurs in a major pipeline. So there are things that need to just be done, and it has to be a massive effort. And investment doesn't have to be just government investment or to be a private sector. But why the privatization for power used to be had to be done is the government and the people, the people who controlled power then were kind of like hogging the power sector, holding it tight to their chest and not allowing the private sector investment and other others to come in and invest and unleash more power. But still, as you know, it's the instrument for investment there. The government has a key role, which is, like this partial risk guarantee I'm talking about. So government ought to get on with it and ensure that it's done so that private sector investors will, again, play the role they're supposed to play. They're not playing it yet, but they're not allowed to really play it in terms of expanding generation.
Thank you so very much, sir. Thank you. And I'm so glad that we're able to squeeze some time out of your very busy schedule. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, Soni. Yeah. Nice talking with you.
Thank you. So we just have had very beautiful advice from the former Minister of Power in the Jonathan government. That was Federal Minister for that matter. And he's the miracle worker, as it were, in Abia State right now, as power is said to be available 24/7. Anyway, this has been Soni Irabor Live on a very special note today, with zooming away whatever it takes to bring the facts to you at your doorstep. Good night. Bye-bye.